and Dudettes, Mr. Theorist here, and welcome back to Geeky Archives with the Luscious.
Oh, yeah, am I luscious again now?
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, fine. And it's Draven here.
And this week we're covering which subject, mate?
Folklore of Britain.
Ooh, our own country.
Yep.
Should be interesting.
So I've got two main ones to talk about.
Okay.
But if there's any other ones that you can think of, I can see what I know.
Okay, cool. So yeah, British folklore.
There's a lot to it.
Do you have a bunch of stuff to do with? Go on, do one of my favourite ones. Arthurian legend.
Arthurian legend?
Yeah,
that's one I was going to start with.
That's good.
Well,
oh my god, besides the scripted thing here.
Well,
anyway,
it's us.
Sorry, let's.
But yeah, well, to be honest, with Arthurian legend, the first thing I will actually put out there is none of it is official canon. There's no official story.
It's folklore, isn't it?
No, even within the confines of folklore. Because what a lot of people follow is the book by Geoffrey of Monmouth.
Okay. I have no idea who that is. It's just going to show how little I know of any of this.
Basically, it's an old text that was the history of the kings of Britain. Basically, he tried to consolidate everything into a book so people could...
So this is like one of the early versions of us being like, this is what I kind of think history was?
Sort of, yeah. And one of them was King Arthur, the legendary King Arthur.
See, I think we should do that more.
But the thing is, there is no historical record.
So is King Arthur even a real king?
That's why it comes under folklore.
Okay.
Because there is no historical canon of a King Arthur uniting the land of
Camelot.
Albion. No, he ruled Camelot.
Okay.
But there's no... Well, according to the tales, but there's no... The story of uniting Albion...
Yeah.
Which is one of the stories he's famous for. There's no historical evidence of a King Arthur doing that.
When you hear like historical text talks about unifying in quotation marks under like one banner.
Yeah.
That throws sus signs at me sometimes.
Exactly. But so, like I was saying, there's no official canon, and there are many different versions of the story.
Okay, we're going to bore our audience if we don't get into this. Can you give us the
one most people know is like you see in Disney movies.
Yeah, the
sword in the stone.
Yeah, the boy who
pulls the sword from
and then becomes king.
Exactly, because he is descended from the royalty of Camelot. Mm-hmm. Because at that point, Camelot has no king.
Do we have like like Arthur's life? Do we have like an official canon on a version of canon of his life?
There's multiple versions. This is what I mean. There are multiple versions of all stories.
And we don't have. So have we not got one that people like zero on the most on?
A lot of different people pull different things from the stories, because like the Merlin TV series.
Yeah.
That pulled from the fact that main thing was Merlin and Arthur were actually the same age. Mm-hmm. And Uther was actually still alive, Arthur's dad. Mm-hmm. And so that plays onto that side. But
Arthur, so there is the one Disney film which is The Sword and Stone.
Sword and Stone, which is
but that one, Arthur, I'm pretty sure, isn't Arthur meant to be like an orphan or something? When
yes.
He pulled it out of the stone.
Yes, and he is squire to two knights.
So we're not even sure if he was a king or a squire or anything there.
No. He started as a squire to two knights because he was an orphan at that point. Or more often than not, orphans were brought into royal noble households.
So the show Merlin basically made up the whole like he was a prince and his father was king.
No. A lot of the folklore stories say that he was descended from royalty. Mm-hmm. It's just at the point of him pulling the sword out of the stone, he didn't know that. He was raised as a squire.
So is there any stories that talk about how Uther, like what killed Uther and then why'd he end up not having the throne?
Basically, a lot of them stem to the fact he was killed in war.
Okay.
And he left his son, but his son got kidnapped. And then, again, there's many different stories, like some saying he escaped, was found by the knights.
This folklore is nowhere near as awesome as like Egyptian religions. Oh my god.
But yeah,
British folklore, dude. You're not doing very well.
But so obviously with that, again sticking with the sword in the stone. So obviously in that one, Merlin is
an old man. Mm-hmm.
And he knows the legend of the sword, but so do all the townsfolk.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it's said that basically he who pulls the sword is the rightful king of England.
Is there a story on like so what I'm gathering so far is that Arthur was once a prince, but his father was killed. He lost rights to his kingdom. Somehow forgot who he was.
Well, a lot of the stories when it comes to that sort of one is basically it happened when he was a baby. Yeah.
Okay, and then he was left. So, is there any lore of like where Excalibur comes from then, and
yes,
why is it destined for Arthur?
There's many different stories there, but one main thing that plays through all of them is that it was the ancestral sword of the kings, and it was imbued with magic.
Cool, because we've got our magic there.
And some tales, like the Merlin TV series. Mm-hmm. Play into the fact that it wasn't just a magical sword, that it was forged in a dragon's breath. Yeah. So it was
this is
completely.
This is the only reason I really like the whole Arthur stuff is because of the dragons.
Because it was being forged in a dragon's breath made it indestructible.
Okay.
But also it gave it properties that basically it could kill anything.
Swords.
No, anything living or dead.
Oh, okay. So even in this folklore, there magic exists, all kinds of magic.
Yes,
I'm guessing like
necromancy.
Oh yeah, I forgot. British folklore. They've got some.
Yeah,
it's probably like close connections with like Celtic stuff.
Yeah, it's like, a lot of it is inspired that and follows through that.
It's interesting.
Yeah. So basically, Excalibur could kill anything.
So who put Excalibur in the stone then, ready for Arthur?
It's not known. Some say the king. Well, the thing is, there's many different tales. Some say it was Merlin, because he predicted that the king would rise, but he didn't know who it would be.
This is what I'm. Okay, so.
But some say that because Uther never wielded Excalibur. It was never. It was wielded like previous
so what it seems
kings.
like is the story seems to be saying that there was something happened to Uther, and the rightful king was kidnapped as a baby.
Yeah.
Somebody placed Excalibur, created Excalibur.
Well, no, Excalibur was created way before Uther's time. It was, like I said, descended from.
I see.
So
like
previous king.
Oh, I see. So
thrust it into the stone.
Arthur Lord does have the whole like inherited
yes.
wealth
and
chosen people.
Yes.
Oh.
But yeah, so so the folklore goes that at the right time, the thing goes at the right time, the true king would come and pull the sword from the stone, and this would show his right to rule.
Okay.
So that's one story.
What happens once he pulls it and becomes king? Does we have stories of the rest of his existence?
There's multiple different stories involving multiple different characters. Obviously, you've got the Knights of the Round Table, which are King Arthur's most loyal knights.
Okay. And
there's different stories with them as well. But one thing, before we get into that, one thing I will talk about is obviously we spoke of Merlin. There's quite an interesting story with him.
Okay, explain them.
He's a Cambion. Half demon.
Oh, okay. I wonder if that's what the TV show was going to potentially do if it wasn't short-lived like it was, because they never really they only come to a warlock in the Merlin show, didn't they?
Yes,
that's how he had the eye magic stuff
but
he had.
In the Merlin TV series, all magic users have that.
Yeah. All
magic users, when they cast a spell, their eyes glow.
Okay, I see. I checked out of it because I kind of got bored.
Oh, I love it. I've watched all 5 seasons.
Stacey really likes it as well, but I just.
But yeah, no, that one basically that doesn't veer in towards like the demonic or religious side of it.
So let's go back into Merlin is part demon.
Yeah.
What's that all about then?
Basically, his magical capabilities are born from the fact that his mother was a human and his dad was a demon. And which is why his magical capabilities are far superior to other, like, say, magical characters in the story, like Nimue or Morgan Le Fay or Mordred.
Mm-hmm.
Because they were known to have magic, but not to the level of Merlin. And as well, in a lot of the cases, once Arthur was crowned king, Merlin was his aide. Merlin was at the side of him, helping him. So, again, with some of the other characters I've named, again, this is what I mean, because there's no official canon.
Yeah.
There's so many stories, so many iterations.
Yeah, I was hoping for there to be like at least a favourite narrative, a favourite canon that people would like to have.
Well, a lot of the time they base it along the lines of. Well, I'll speak about that after once I've said about some of the other characters, because that will tie in. So obviously you've got Morgan Le Fay, who was a witch. Who was a fabled enemy of Arthur, but also his half sister.
Yeah, and then the TV show.
In the Merlin TV show, they played into that with the half sister.
Oh yeah, was it revealed that he was Uther's daughter then?
Yes, they played into that, and so there's that. So, but they were, and Morgan Le Fay and Merlin were fated to basically kill each other. One of the other characters I mentioned is Mordred. So,
who was the sister of?
No, Mordred is male.
Oh,
in the TV series, it's the little boy you see who then grows up and is the one who actually kills him in the end. The one who kills Arthur in the end.
Right, see, I told you I checked out the show.
Basically, do you know the little boy that Merlin and Morgana save in the first series? The one in the green cloak?
No, it's been that long, I can't remember.
Basically, Mordred is, in the TV show, is a druid boy with magic who is destined to kill Arthur. And that,
for what reason?
There's many different reasons. So in the TV series, it's betrayal. But a lot of it is basically he was corrupted by Morgan Le Fay.
Okay.
Who, I keep saying Morgan Le Fay, but with what you're saying about the TV show, is Morgana.
Yeah, Morgana, yeah. And she had a sister.
Morgause.
So they made the kind of like, took a concept of character and made like a group of them. Called Morgar this and Morgar that.
Yeah. But, so with that, Mordred was fabled to be the killer of Arthur. That's one thing that the TV show did get from a lot. That's one thing that is a lot of the tales do say, that Arthur is destined to die by Mordred's hand.
Okay.
But in some stories, this is where it gets weird and it starts messing with things like some of the mythology we spoke about. Mordred is the child of Arthur and Morgan Le Fay.
Okay, so he's going to be killed by his own son.
Yes.
Huh.
Who he bore with his half sister.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
That's what I mean.
Okay, so
But
King Arthur's kind of mythology is a bit. There's no. Do you have a folklore that's got like a canon to it, like an established canon to it in a folklore?
No. A lot of British folklore, there's no official canon because it's word of mouth.
I would have thought maybe there's like
each area story. No, because they don't even know where Camelot was. Some say it was Tintagel. Some say the castle no longer exists. Some say that in the tales they speak of Avalon.
Yeah.
And also Glastonbury Tor has been connected to the Arthurian legend.
I would say that if the Arthurian legend has any truth to it and the characters it's talking about, must be so long ago, because even like the fact they're talking about things like dragons,
and other magical creatures.
At the moment, we have no evidence of dragons ever existing in nature itself. So even if you use some of the wishy-washy kind of like, oh, dragons are like birds and birds' bones are hollow and they don't fossilize very well, like it would still be quite a while for us not to find any proof of them. So Camelot itself, I can't imagine it would ever be standing, because there isn't a lot of ruins standing from medieval times, and dragons have got to be way before then. Even if you kind of grasp the notion of them, they're like post-dinosaur kind of creatures. Anyway, sorry, I do hope dragons were ever a thing. Just because all societies have always like spoken about them. Like there must have been like something that might not have been fire-breathing giant lizard with wings, but something similar. Because the fact that so many civilizations have spoken about it, there must be some sort of creature similar to that. Yeah. Anyway, so
they're the main characters.
Yeah.
So, and obviously there's different stories pertaining to different ones and of who they were, how they were connected to each other. But one key thing is that Morgan Le Fay and sometimes mentioned Nimue, and also
who's Nimue?
A witch.
Not connected to.
No relation.
Good witch, bad witch.
Bad.
Of course.
But Morgana, basically, the pretense of it is, and one thing that the TV show does show is that magic was outlawed. And so there was obviously the war between the magic users and the non-magic users.
Well, yeah, because probably you would be... if you think of it in our logical terms, magic is connected to paganism, which is created to like more polytheistic religions.
But at the time
you were probably more the monotheistic Christian.
No, polytheistic. Because it was more the original belief systems of the British people.
But the king and monarchy hasn't that always kind of been established as in this country as being connected to no? Oh.
In medieval time.
And why are you ostracising the witches? What the heck's wrong with you guys?
Because it was a power they didn't have.
Of course.
With a lot of things like that, that's always the case.
Yeah.
But again, this is what I mean. There are so many different versions of the stories that it's hard to nail down any.
So Arthur was an orphan because of.
In one story, in another he wasn't.
In another he wasn't.
And
I wonder these are just folklores and no one really like tries to establish any like real credence to them.
Yeah.
Because many variants.
With what you were saying about like Christianity coming into it, it comes into some of the stories.
Yeah.
Because one of the Knights of the Round Table is connected to the Holy Grail.
Okay.
He went in search of the Holy Grail.
Okay.
That's what I mean. There was so many different stories.
So if they have got connections, maybe there was. Maybe Camelot was monotheistic.
That's the thing.
And that's why or what's his name? The king at the time, what was his name? Uther. Uther.
In the TV show,
decided to ostracize religion.
Well, in the TV show, no, he ostracized it because it killed his missus because he wanted a son. No, literally, that's why he goes against magic. Because he was wanting an heir so bad, he had to use magic to get it.
But he had a son anyway.
No, he didn't.
Oh, that's why Arthur
was born of magic in the TV series.
And that's why he's like the prophesized, like he has to become king with Excalibur.
But yeah, so obviously, I'll just like the Knights of the Round Table. There's a few names that most people know. Lancelot. A lot of people know that, and all the stories with him and Guinevere, and the romance between him and Guinevere, and also Guinevere and King Arthur.
Yeah.
That one, again, like I said, because there's not much actually written down, we don't know what's true, what's not. But obviously, he was one of the more noted knights of the Round Table.
Is there any evidence of any of this being like any factual truth to it, or is this when we say folklore, we literally just talk about like these are stories people just told each other?
Yeah.
Wow. Which, to be honest, is probably where some religions come from, but for some reason, this kind of but it's different though, isn't it? Because these are stories that are spoken about of like a character who came from a kingdom potentially, or didn't come from, and it's all about savior complex, having this like savior who's prophesied to come from the people to bring them all back and be the king for everyone,
and the king they
united
needed.
England. It's interesting.
But yeah, so the one I was saying about with the Holy Grail, that is Sir Percival.
That's another name I recognise.
Yes, he is in the TV series. But yeah, he is the finder of the Holy Grail in some stories. So obviously, again, like we were saying, it's
what is the Holy Grail in Arthurian legend? Like,
the same as it is in Christianity.
It's a cup.
It's the cup that held the blood of Christ.
Why was there a cup that held the blood? See, this shows
when the spear went into his side,
yeah,
there was a cup that was placed underneath that to catch the blood.
Well,
because they believed it was sacred because he was the Son of God.
Oh yeah, okay. So someone's just like, "Hey, Jesus is dying. Yeah, I'm going to sip that blood."
And they believed that because such sacred blood fell into the cup became sacred. It had powers. It's also connected to what's sometimes called the cup of life. That in a lot of stories is basically anyone who drinks water from the cup of life, all injuries will be healed.
Yeah.
Everything. So even if you're near death, you drink water from that cup, you're back to full strength and full life.
Where are these cups? Where's the cup?
Yep. So yeah.
It's like, you just get it. You just get the cup.
Yeah.
You just drill a hole in the bottom of it and stick it to a machine that can just fuel it out to the masses, and we can just heal everyone. Technically, it's going through the cup, so.
Yeah, but people wouldn't do that.
I would. Magical potion for everyone.
Yeah, we might, but higher ups won't.
Yeah, we're not going involved in it. We're just going to find it ourselves. Magic cup for all.
Yep. So yeah, one thing I will say about...
Why did Arthur not drink from the cup then?
This is what I mean. Because there's no official story, there's hearsay with a lot of the thing. Like there was some stories that said the cup could be used for evil. If blood was poured into it, whoever's blood was poured into it would be immortal. But at a cost of the fact that you are immortal, but you're undead.
Yeah.
So
vampire.
So basically, no weapon would slay you, other than, again, like we spoke of, Excalibur, which was forged in a dragon's breath.
Oh, let me get this. Okay, so there's a story of someone being turned into an immortal then?
Yes, and yeah, that's what I mean. There's so many different tales.
Was it Arthur that was turned into
this
creature?
No, it wasn't. This is what I'm saying. There's no official stories. There's just tales of things happening.
Boo.
Yeah, exactly. That's why it's an interesting topic for me personally, because there's so much contradiction in things, and there's so much...
That would wind me up. That generally would, like... This is probably
Trust me, you don't want to study history and religion, then.
Mate, why do you think I'm creating an entire fictional universe to be a fun fantasy mirror to society? Because
I've done it.
I've been into politics for like maybe up to 10 years now, and I'm already ready, like, oh my god, what the heck does humanity want to try and do with itself? Like,
I don't think we know.
It's insane. Why not? So I just create a whole fictional thing and be like, I'm just going to live in this fictional version of reality, and it's going to have mirrors and connections to the real one, so I understand what's going on in the real world, but Jesus. No, thank you. So, cool. We've got Excalibur. It's a breakable thing.
Now you've actually mentioned Excalibur. One thing that also is quite common in most of the stories is the weapons. And there are 3 main weapons that are named.
Oh, so there's more than just Excalibur then?
Yes, and all of them have magical capabilities.
Okay, explain the other 2 then.
One of them is Caliburn. or sometimes called Colbrand. Sorry, Colbrand,
Mm-hmm.
which is basically as Excalibur was the sword pulled from the stone.
Mm-hmm.
You've heard of the story of the Lady of the Lake.
Yeah.
Caliburn was the sword from the Lady of the Lake.
Oh, so it wasn't Excalibur?
Again, some stories say Excalibur was drawn from the lake. Some say it was drawn from the stone.
Am I gonna hear then that this idea of these 3 magical items is basically the way of like getting rid of the contradictions of Excalibur's thing?
But
Because I thought that's
Caliburn
what happened is when Arthur died, Excalibur was thrown to the Lady of the Lake.
in the TV series, yes, because they are only in the TV series they only have Excalibur. They don't. Well, they have Clarence.
Because I thought that was just the general consensus of what happened to Excalibur. Is
But
just
so
thrown to
right,
the bottom of the lake.
this is where I'm going to get into it.
Okay.
So obviously, Caliburn was, was that. But some tales say it's the reverse. That Excalibur was the one drawn from given by the Lady of the Lake, and Caliburn was the one drawn from the stone, which proved his birthright.
Okay.
But here's where it gets interesting.
Mm-hmm.
In some stories, they're the same sword.
Yeah. So there isn't 3 magical items. There is 2 magical items. Okay.
This is what I mean, because there's no official canon.
Can somebody out there, anyone, can you make like a fun, like this is the definitive law of ethereal legend?
Geoffrey of Monmouth tried that.
Yeah. Okay. What's his one then? What's his one?
He names both swords.
Oh, so he names them as 2 separate swords.
But again, there's contradictions there because he wasn't an actual historian.
I don't care. He has a narrative. I can follow a narrative.
Yeah, but
what's
the thing is,
his narrative.
This is what I mean. Even his narrative isn't canon because it was just him.
I'm not asking for canon. What I want,
but again,
I want a story and narrative I can follow because
there isn't one properly in Arthurian
legend.
There's
him. There's him.
Yes, there's his.
I want to hear his.
Basically, what? Again, but even his, there isn't definitive parts of it with some parts. It's just basic knowledge.
Okay, what does he say though? What does he say about Arthur?
Again, what I've been saying comes a lot from what he said.
And he contradicts even himself.
Sometimes with things, yes.
Oh.
Because he was just do you know when you see like in courts, he was just the person who wrote things down. He was a scribe who noted things down, and so things were different. Or
is he a historical person then?
There is in history. There is a Geoffrey of Monmouth, but it's not tied to if that was actually him. Because the thing is, there was the character, and there is in the stories, the book he wrote, but there's a lot of things saying that he made it up.
Okay, made the whole thing up.
Yes, he made it up to try and unify the country.
Okay.
This is what I mean. It gets confusing with a lot of the things because there is no historical evidence of an Arthur Pendragon or even a King Arthur existing.
What's this guy's story then? How much do we know about this guy who's
not much?
Who's potentially created Arthur and
not much. But so right back to the swords. Mm-hmm. The other one is Clarent, the sword of peace. You won't because it's not used much.
Okay.
Basically, it's the sword Mordred used to kill Arthur.
Oh, okay.
And
why is it called the Sword of Peace?
Because it had a blunt tip. It was a sword. It was more of a ceremonial sword.
Okay.
And it was a blunt tip. It was basically the Sword of Peace because it was not used to kill.
Nah.
But in the end, it was stolen by Mordred and used to kill Arthur.
Wow.
Yeah.
So much for a Sword of Peace.
But again, with a lot of the stories, there was betrayal, there was mystery, there was magic.
So it understands why the TV show feels chaotic at times.
Yes.
Because the source material it's using is so chaotic.
There is
it
no
doesn't have any
official source material.
Just imagine if like that was someone came forward and was like, this show doesn't make any sense. Like, but historically accurate then, because the source material we're using.
Why do you think I enjoy it so much? Because the thing is with the TV series, it gives it a good linear progression of things.
Yeah.
Of introducing the characters.
Well, is there anything apart from the TV show? Because I know the ending of Merlin, of the fact that at the very end Merlin is an old man in modern day.
I hate that bit. I don't know. I get why they put it in there, but I'm just like.
But they don't explain as far as I'm aware, the TV show just declares him to be a warlock, and I know he has that potion that makes him look like an old man. It ages him up, so he can pretend to be old Merlin and help Arthur and anything. How does he have an immortality then?
Because he is born of magic.
Okay, so he's just immortal.
He basically, in the TV series, the way they explain it is there's never been another warlock like him, and there never will be.
Do you want to...